All right, let's do this. Ready to level up.
Always.
Today, we're diving deep into 20 ways to improve yourself.
Ooh, ambitious. I like it.
And I know,
Yeah.
20 tips can seem like a lot, especially for, our listeners who are always on the go.
Right.
But that's why we're here.
Exactly. To break it down.
Yeah, we'll pull out the most useful advice, connect the dots so it actually feels doable, and even inspiring, hopefully.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
And, it's not about doing every single thing on the list,
Absolutely.
right?
Sure.
It's about finding what works for you, what matches your goals, what feels good for your values, quality over quantity, right?
Absolutely. And it's kind of funny, the source material itself,
Yeah.
it's actually a whole podcast episode.
Yeah.
So imagine you're someone who you're into all this self-improvement stuff,
Right.
but who has time for a 43-minute podcast.
Yeah.
This is your cheat sheet.
Love that. Shortcut to a better you.
Okay.
Where do we start?
Why don't we start with the foundation? Like the source does, those mindset things that set you up for growth.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
And they kick it off with setting clear goals. Which I know sounds basic, right?
Totally, but...
But here's the thing. They're not just talking about any old goals.
Right,
They're all about being super specific,
right.
like way more than you might think.
Give me an example.
Okay, so instead of, I want to be healthier, which, come on, who doesn't?
Big.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'd say, I'm going to work out 3 times a week and eat a balanced diet.
Okay, so it's about making it actionable.
Totally. And that level of detail is what makes it happen, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's like having a roadmap instead of, just a vague destination in mind.
Yes, exactly.
And you know what? For all those learners out there who, they love structure,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'd even say break those goals down even further, like tiny steps.
So it's not so overwhelming?
Exactly, because overwhelm is the enemy.
Big.
So ask yourself, what's the smallest thing I can do today? Maybe it's just like looking up gyms in your area.
Or finding a healthy recipe you actually want to eat.
There you go. Tiny actions add up.
Okay, next tip. We see this one everywhere.
Let me guess.
Read every day. Almost feels cliche at this point.
Right. It's on every list.
So why does it keep coming up?
Well, for good reason, I think. Reading, it's like a workout for your brain, literally.
In what sense?
Neuroplasticity. Heard of it?
Okay, vaguely.
So your brain, it's constantly changing, rewiring itself.
Wow.
And every time you learn something new, you create these new pathways, these connections. You're strengthening your brain, just like lifting weights.
So it's not just about the information itself, you're literally changing the physical structure of your brain.
Exactly.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
And, the source makes a good point about audiobooks. For busy people, they can be a lifesaver.
Oh, for sure.
I find, if I listen to a book while I'm walking, I actually focus better. It's like multitasking, but in a good way.
2 birds, 1 stone. You're getting exercise and knowledge.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of nourishing our minds,
What's next?
practicing gratitude. I feel like this one gets so much attention these days.
It does, but it's one of those, do you think it lives up to the hype?
I do. I am a total believer in the power of gratitude. Even a little bit can make a huge difference.
You've seen it firsthand.
Oh, yeah. I tried this thing where I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for every morning for a week.
Okay.
And honestly, it changed my whole perspective. Less stress, more optimism, just focusing on the good stuff.
That's fantastic. And it's not just a feel-good anecdote.
Oh,
There's tons of research now. Like UC Davis, they found that people who practice gratitude regularly, they have stronger immune systems, lower blood pressure, even sleep better.
seriously?
Yeah, it's like this positive feedback loop for your mind and body.
Wow, that's incredible.
Right? Powerful stuff.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. This next one, it's right up our learner's alley. Develop a morning routine.
Ooh, yeah. Structure. All about setting the tone for the day, making those morning hours count.
And maximizing them, for sure.
Have you ever heard of habit stacking?
I have, but I'm not sure I totally get it.
Okay, so imagine this. You want to build a new habit.
Right.
You attach it to an existing one. Like you already make coffee every morning, right?
Of course.
Okay, so right after you make coffee, you do 5 minutes of meditation.
I see. So you're kind of piggybacking on something you already do consistently.
Exactly. Makes it way easier to stick to new routines.
That's brilliant. Okay, and last but not least in this foundation section,
Hit me.
embrace lifelong learning. This one feels kind of obvious for our audience, right?
Yeah, it's like their thing.
But it's more than just formal learning,
Oh, absolutely. It's about constantly being curious, open to new stuff, information, skills, experiences.
And it can come from anywhere. Documentaries, podcasts, I mean, hello, they're listening to us. Online courses, learning a language, picking up a new hobby. What are you learning these days, by the way? I'm always curious what people are into.
Well, I recently started, I've been taking this online course on astrophysics.
Astrophysics, wow.
It's a little out there for me, not my usual thing, but
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated by space.
That's so cool. I love that you're like always pushing yourself to learn new things.
Got to keep the brain going.
Exactly. Okay, so we've covered some mindset shifts.
Yeah, the foundation.
Now let's talk about the more, actionable stuff.
Things you can do.
Yeah, like habits to actually level up your life. And guess what the source starts with? Prioritize physical health.
Classic.
But it's not just about how you look.
Oh, definitely not.
It's about taking care of your body, giving it what it needs to function well.
Right. It's your vehicle for life.
I love that.
Yeah.
So true. Exercise, balanced diet, enough sleep.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
It's not just about fitting into those jeans.
Although that's a nice bonus.
True. It's about feeling good.
Yeah.
Having energy.
Having a clear mind.
Totally. I know when I skip a workout, I'm like useless.
Same.
My brain just doesn't work.
No energy.
Speaking of which, what's your go-to for movement?
Honestly, as simple as it sounds, a good walk in nature.
Ooh, I love that.
Just get outside, clear your head, get the blood flowing.
It's so good for you.
And it's a chance to disconnect from everything, all the screens.
I need more of that in my life.
Don't we all?
Okay, how about you? What do you do to get moving? I'm a big fan of dance classes.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's such a good workout and always puts me in a good mood.
Love that.
Okay, let's move on to, this is a good one. Improve emotional intelligence.
Ooh, that's a big one. What do they mean by that?
Yeah, I feel like that gets thrown around a lot, but what does it actually look like in real life?
Good question. So the source breaks it down into two parts.
Okay.
First, you got to be aware of your own emotions, really aware. And then understanding how other people feel.
So it's almost like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine you're in a meeting at work.
Okay.
And someone's, reacting super defensively to feedback.
We've all been there.
Right. Emotional intelligence is what helps you see, okay, maybe they're not actually angry. Maybe it's insecurity or fear.
So it's about seeing beyond the surface.
Exactly. And when you understand that, you can react differently.
With empathy.
Exactly. That's such a great example.
It's like reading between the lines.
Totally.
Of people's behavior, figuring out what's driving it.
I like that. Okay, this next tip is one of my favorites. Step out of your comfort zone.
Yes. Push those boundaries.
It's where the magic happens.
Right. Our brains, they like to play it safe.
Oh, they do?
But when you challenge yourself, even in small ways,
What happens?
you build confidence, resilience, and you learn new stuff along the way.
And that's the growth mindset in action, right?
Totally. It's about putting it into practice.
Okay, so confession time. I'm actually kind of an introvert.
I know, right? But recently, I forced myself to go to this conference where I didn't know anyone.
Bold move.
It was terrifying, but I ended up meeting some amazing people.
See? It pays off.
It was a good reminder that sometimes the best things are on the other side of fear.
Love that.
Okay, let's move on to something a bit more practical.
Hit me.
Declutter your space.
Ooh, now this one.
I know, right?
I have thoughts.
Confession. My workspace. It can get a little chaotic sometimes.
A little.
Okay, maybe more than a little. But I know there's a reason why, every productivity expert talks about this.
Yeah, there's something to it.
So why is it so important?
Well, first of all, yeah, a clean space looks nice. Who doesn't love that?
It's true.
But it's more than that. It's about creating an environment where you can actually focus.
Right, because clutter is distracting.
Exactly. And it can make you feel stressed, overwhelmed.
Oh, for sure.
The source mentions this one in, one out rule.
I've heard of that.
Have you tried it?
I haven't, but it sounds smart.
It is. So basically, for every new thing you bring into your house,
Or your office, yeah.
you get rid of an old one.
So you're not just accumulating stuff.
Exactly.
Love that. Okay, let's talk about something that's crucial for, everyone really, but especially our busy learners.
What's that?
Time management.
The eternal struggle.
Right. There's never enough time. Any tips, any hacks you've discovered?
Okay, so the source talks about the usual suspects, planners, to-do lists, those time management apps.
All good stuff.
But for me, the biggest shift was letting go of multitasking.
Wait, really?
It's a myth. Our brains just aren't wired for it.
You think so?
I'm telling you, when you try to do a million things at once, you end up doing none of them well. You just get scattered.
I am so guilty of that. Multitasking, or maybe like multi-distracting. That's me.
We all do it, but focus. That's the key.
Okay, that's a good takeaway. Less is more. Now let's talk about something a little more, I guess you could say, relational.
Okay, what is it?
Invest in relationships. And I like how they frame this. It's not just about, networking.
Shallow connections.
Exactly. It's about surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, who support you, who inspire you.
It's about those quality connections that bring you joy, meaning all that good stuff.
So true. And it ties back to emotional intelligence, right? Like, to build strong relationships, you got to understand what other people need.
Yeah. Good communication.
Being vulnerable.
It all matters.
Okay, here's another one that takes effort. Practice self-discipline.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a tough one.
Right. It's like, who wants to do that when there's Netflix and ice cream?
Right. Instant gratification everywhere.
But the source makes a good point. It's a muscle you have to build.
And it does get easier with practice, I think.
Do you think so?
Yeah. And remember all those tips we talked about earlier?
Like what?
Setting clear goals, routines, time management.
Oh, right.
Those all make self-discipline way easier.
It's like, if you know what you want
and how to get there, you're less likely to get sidetracked.
That makes sense. Okay, this next one is, for all those learners out there, master a new skill.
Yes. Embrace that curiosity.
Learn a language, pick up an instrument, try coding.
Whatever sparks your interest.
Exactly. And it ties back to that comfort zone thing.
Pushing those boundaries.
I'm a big believer in learning new things. It keeps you sharp, opens your mind up to new possibilities. What about you? Any skills you're working on mastering right now?
Well, funny you should ask. I've been trying to learn pottery.
Pottery. That's awesome.
It's a lot harder than it looks, I'll tell you that.
I bet. But I love that you're willing to, get your hands dirty and just try something new.
Gotta embrace that beginner's mindset, right?
Exactly. Okay, so building on that idea of growth and learning, the next tip is stay open to feedback.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Right. Nobody really likes to hear criticism.
It's hard.
Even if it's meant to be helpful.
Yeah, but it's so important.
If you actually want to improve.
Yeah. The source makes a good point, though. It's about focusing on the information, not how it's delivered.
Right, because sometimes people just aren't very good at giving feedback.
Totally. Like, their intentions might be good, but maybe they're not the best communicators.
Exactly. It's like filtering out the noise and just focusing on the message itself.
Look for the nuggets of wisdom.
I like that. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. The source wraps up with a few tips that are all about kind of like holistic well-being.
Okay.
And they start with create a financial plan.
That might seem a little out of place on a self-improvement list.
Right. But I think it makes sense.
Yeah, when you think about it.
It's all connected. Like, if you're stressed about money,
yeah,
it affects everything else in your life.
Totally. Relationships, your health, even your ability to focus.
And to actually go after those goals you've set.
It's like when your finances are a mess, it's hard to think about anything else.
So true. And the source gives some good advice for, getting started.
What do they say?
Track your income and expenses, which nobody wants to do.
I hate that part.
But it's important. And building an emergency fund, avoiding unnecessary debt.
Solid advice.
It's all about taking control, right? Instead of feeling like you're at the mercy of your finances.
Exactly. Empowerment.
Love it. Okay, next up is something that's gotten super popular lately. Meditate regularly.
Oh yeah, meditation.
What do you think about that?
It definitely has its benefits, but I know it can seem a little intimidating.
Oh yeah, for sure. I used to think it was all about like sitting in silence for hours and emptying your mind completely.
Right, like some kind of monk.
Exactly. But I finally tried it and I was like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad.
You liked it.
Yeah. Even just a few minutes a day makes a difference.
What do you notice?
It helps me quiet down all the noise in my head, less stress, better focus.
There you go. And there's like tons of research now that backs all that up.
Really?
Oh yeah. Meditation can reduce anxiety, help with depression, improve sleep.
Wow. I had no idea.
It's a powerful tool.
Okay, and speaking of powerful tools, the next tip is cultivate resilience.
Ooh, that's a good one, especially these days.
Right. The world is, well, it's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
So how do we build resilience?
That's the question. So the source talks about a few things.
Okay.
Reframing challenges, Like, instead of seeing them as setbacks, seeing them as opportunities to grow.
I like that.
And building a strong support system, having people you can lean on when things get tough, and taking care of yourself.
Yeah, self-care is essential.
It all ties together, doesn't it?
It really does.
And you know what? I think part of resilience is just accepting that setbacks are going to happen.
They are. It's part of life.
It's not about avoiding failure. It's about knowing how to bounce back from it.
So true. Okay, this next one, I think we all struggle with this.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Limit screen time.
Ugh, the worst. But so necessary.
Right. I'm totally guilty of spending way too much time on my phone.
Social media, the news, it's just like an endless cycle.
And it's exhausting.
It is. And it definitely affects my sleep, my mood, everything.
So what do we do about it?
Well, the source talks about setting boundaries. Like no screens after a certain time or having like tech-free zones in your house.
That's smart.
Try to be better about that, especially before bed. Just give my brain a break from all the stimulation.
Me too. It's a work in progress.
Maybe we can be accountability buddies for this.
I'm in. We can keep each other in check.
Deal. Okay, ready to wrap this up on a high note. The final tip is celebrate small wins.
Oh, I love that one.
It's so important to acknowledge your progress, no matter how small.
It's easy to get caught up in the big picture.
Right. Always chasing the next goal.
But those small wins, they matter.
They totally do. They keep you motivated, build momentum.
And it's a good reminder that progress is a journey, not a destination.
So well said. And speaking of celebrating, we should celebrate you, dear listener, for sticking with us through this whole deep dive.
Yes. Thank you for being here.
We hope you found some nuggets of wisdom to take away.
Even just one small change can make a big difference over time.
So true. As we wrap up, we want to leave you with this thought. Of all the things we talked about today, what resonates with you the most?
Yeah.
What's one small step you can take, like right now, to put it into action?
We can't wait to hear what you achieve.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep diving deep.
See